Hi everybody, it's Leslie here again with another video, obviously. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different because the last video I did was a what sold video, and I had some people reaching out with some more beginner questions, I guess you could say, and so I was spending some time brainstorming about what sorts of things I would want to share with a beginner or somebody that's just getting started in this reselling world. And I thought of about 5 general tips that I know I would have liked to know as I was starting out, and I thought I would share those tips with you guys today. So just as a precursor, these are some general overview tips, but certainly I hope to do more videos and maybe get more into the specifics of some of this stuff. My dog is here and he's distracting me. His name is Reggie. Hi, Reggie. So anyways, 5 tips. These are some general tips. I have been doing this for about 10 years now. I started end of high school, beginning of college, and so just naturally over that time I've learned a lot and I've made a lot of mistakes. So I'm hoping that my knowledge in this will help some people that are just getting started or thinking about doing this and keep you from making maybe some of the mistakes that I made. So here it goes. Hi, come here. Oh. All right. Tip number 1 is to find a niche. And I say that because when I started, I was buying anything and everything to sell on eBay. Oh my goodness, sorry, he's being so distracting. Come here. So when I first started out, I was really overwhelmed by how much stuff was in a thrift store. And I started buying everything. I was buying mugs and CDs and books and clothing, obviously, and plateware. I was buying everything, and it was very overwhelming. It was hard to do all the research about all these different categories. It was hard to ship all this crazy stuff. Like, everything was shaped differently and needed different boxes or poly mailers, and so it was hard. It was overwhelming to try to do everything. So over the years, I've really nailed down my niche, which is I sell, mid to upper tier women's clothing. And for me, that's what really works because I love it. I'm passionate about it. I have a ton of knowledge about it. But for other people, your niches might look a little different. Like, maybe you love video games, so you go into video games. Maybe you love kids clothing and that's your niche, or maybe it's photography gear or things like that. So you can sell really anything on eBay, not so much on Poshmark, but it's important to find a category that works for you. Ideally, this category will be something that you already have some knowledge about or experience with, and maybe you have some stuff lying around your house that you could get started with. Also, it's important that it's something that you like and care about and are excited about, because this is a job, yes, but it's also a lot of fun. And for me, I love buying women's clothing, and it's so fun for me to buy it and to sell it. And even after 10 years, it's so exciting and fun. And I think if I tried to go into a category that wasn't really interesting to me, that I wouldn't be doing it still. So find something you like, find something you have some experience with, and dive in. Learn all you can learn about that category. Focus on that category at the thrift shop or at garage sales or wherever you're getting your stuff, and just really dive in to that one category. You can always branch out and maybe switch things up after you've gotten some experience, but I think starting out, having that one particular niche is really important. All right, so tip number 2 is that pictures are worth 1,000 words. And I know we've all heard this expression, but it's very, very true on eBay and Poshmark and all these websites. I think when someone clicks on your listing, they might look at your description, they might not, but they are definitely going to look at your pictures. And your pictures will either sell your item or keep it from selling. I see so many pictures on these websites of wrinkled clothes that are thrown on a bed or on the floor, and the pictures are dark and it's not really clear what's even going on. So I know that when I'm shopping on these websites, I want to buy things that I can see very clearly what I'm getting, what kind of condition it's in. And that's true for people that are going to buy your listings as well. They want clear, bright pictures of your items. So for me, I currently am sitting in my backdrop. This is my backdrop, and I have a semi-professional lighting kit. But for you, that might look different if you're starting out. I would definitely suggest finding a place in your house with natural light. So that's typically by a window. And you can put something on the floor, but just make sure it looks clean and the picture is clear. So take a few pictures of the item right by a bright window. That's all you really need. iPhones these days and other smartphones have really, really good cameras. So take some good, clear, bright photos, and that goes a really long way. The pictures will sell your item. So really make sure those pictures look as good as you can make them look. And again, you don't need a lot of money for this. Find a place in your house, buy a bright window. You can buy like $1 poster board, put that down on the ground, and then put your item on that. And it looks so professional and so good for really no money. So those pictures are very important, and that would be my tip number 2. Really focus on getting clear, bright photos. Right, so my tip number 3 is to always be overly honest with your buyers. So I say this because when I first started out, I was not very diligent about taking those clear, bright pictures or about really examining my items very well. And there were things I missed. So I would sometimes miss holes or a little stain on an item. And that resulted in some unhappy buyers. And I got some negative feedback in my first year, which, if you're at all familiar with eBay, you know when you're starting out, negative feedback can be very, very awful as a seller. It really, really affects you, and it can restrict how many things you can list. It can put even your account, it can even suspend your account. So it's really important to get positive feedback from buyers, and part of that is being very careful to examine everything that you list. Examine it very thoroughly and be very honest with your buyers. There's no point in trying to like gloss over or hide a flaw, because it can just get you in trouble. So take those clear, bright pictures and really spend some time looking over everything that you're selling and being very, very clear in your pictures and in your description about any flaws that you see. And everybody is different. So when I'm buying something to wear myself, I really don't care if there's a loose thread or a tiny hole or something like that. I'm not that particular, but a lot of people are very particular about the things that they buy and that they wear and that they use. And so while I might see a tiny, tiny flaw on something and say, not a big deal, to someone else it might be a very big deal. So just say everything that you can about the item, about any flaws. Don't hide anything. Be upfront, be honest, always. Tip number 4 is to embrace change. So I say this because when I look over my 10 years of doing this, I can point to a few different points at which I was really hesitant to make changes that ultimately were so needed and helpful for me. So I kind of go back and I kick myself, like, why didn't you make changes sooner? And change is so important for growth. So this is a very broad tip, I guess, but I'll give a few examples. The first is that for years and years and years, I just sold on eBay. I didn't sell anywhere else. I knew websites like Poshmark existed, but I don't know. I was comfortable with eBay. I didn't want to deal with trying to learn a whole new platform. I didn't really know what sold on Poshmark. It was this scary thing that I didn't want to deal with. But I joined Poshmark about a year and a half ago. And now I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? I sell so much stuff on Poshmark. It's been a huge blessing. And I don't know honestly how I would be full-time without Poshmark right now. So I really don't know why I was so hesitant for so many years. I just was scared of the change. So if I just embraced it, I would have had a lot more profit years ago. So that's an example. Another one is that I held off on getting a label printer to print my shipping labels for years and years. I was printing on a regular printer, cutting the labels out, using tape to put them on my packages. And I'd always done things that way, so I was scared to make a change, I guess. But I got a label printer, and it has changed my life for the better. It's saved me so much time. And so I think we just kind of all get stuck in a certain way of doing things, but it's important in this reselling world that we're always thinking about what sorts of things we could be doing to make more money, save more time, switch up the way that we're doing things, because you don't want to get stagnant, and this is a always changing business. The brands that are selling always change. The websites are always updating their platforms. So it's important to get used to change, to not fear it, to not get too stuck in the ways that you're doing things, because making changes can really help your business grow and help you save time and make more money. And it's so important to not be scared of it and to just kind of dive into it. So my fifth tip is to value your time. So when I first started out, I got excited about the profit margins that are in the field of reselling, and I was buying things for $1 and was turning it into $8. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm making 8 times my money and this is awesome. But over the years, I've really changed my model, and I'm only buying things now that I can make at least $25 off for the most part. Obviously, there's some things that happen that change that, but for the most part, I want to be making at least $25 on each item. And so part of why I made that shift is because my time is valuable, and every single item that I sell, I put time into. I put time into finding it, photographing it, listing it, shipping it. That all takes time, and if I'm buying something for $1 and selling it for $8, after all is said and done, I'm probably only making like $5 off of that purchase. And for me, with the amount of time that I put into that item, $5 is just not worthwhile. I want to be really making my time valuable and worthwhile. And so I really advise people, I know as you're starting out, you're probably selling things around your house, and that's kind of an exception, that's fine. But as you start to buy things to resell, really think about, how much time you're putting into each item and how much value your time has. And just think about that for yourself. I know for everybody that might look different, but for me, I really, really want to be making at least $20, $25 on each item. Ideally, actually, a lot more than that, $50, $60, but at least $25, because my time is worth that. And so I know that, again, that's going to look different for everybody, but that is something I really, really wish I had known starting out and had really thought more about, and I kind of sat down and said, oh wait, I'm putting all this time into this stuff, and yes, I'm doubling my money, but really is it worth that $4 or $5? My time is worth more than that. So yeah, that's my 5th tip, is to really value your time. Your time is important and your time is valuable, and don't undervalue yourself. All right. So those are my 5 tips for getting started on eBay, for getting going in this reselling world. I know, again, that they're more general tips, but I can always go into more specifics with more videos. I just kind of wanted to do an overview of some things that I wish I had known as I was starting out, some advice I'd give myself and anybody else starting in this crazy reselling world. So that is it, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.